Before we begin, we should probably also say a big thank you to CodeSync Global and TI Tokyo for letting myself and Andrei be here today. And a thank you to all the attendees here who are willing to give up the next 25 minutes or so of their lives so they can find out what's going on with Riak, where it goes, what's going on, and some things that we have that are work in progress. As Sean said, if people could save their questions until the end of the session or drop them in Hoover, please, that'd be most appreciated.
And I'll be showing a demo.
Awesome. So, should probably introduce ourselves quickly. My name is Nicholas Adams. As Sean mentioned, I'm a director at TI Tokyo. I've done a number of React talks at CodeBeam previously, so some people here may recognize me for who I am. And today I'm very pleased to be joined for the first time by my colleague and a former developer for Basho, Andrei.
Thanks, Nick. I've been in the business of Erlang since OTP 13, that's 11 years ago. This is my first public appearance, and I should be visibly worried, but I'm also excited and happy. Good to be here.
Yes, I'm glad to have you here too. So we should probably start off with a quick introduction for any people who don't know what Riak is. Riak itself is a distributed system platform. It comes in three main flavors. We have Riak KV, the key value store. We have Riak CS, the cloud storage offering, accompanied by its partner in crime, Stantium, which does chunking and lots of clever things. And that's essentially an S3 storage drop-in replacement so you can run private cloud. Finally, we have Riak TS, the time series offering. This offers an SQL interface to essentially the key value store behind it. Right, I think that's the basic introduction started. We should probably jump into the thick of things now.
Let's do that. I have a few questions about KV.
Certainly, let's get you some answers. We have lots of things happening in the KV world. So we have new releases, we have mode changes, maintenance updates, and more. What would you like to know?
For the users of 2.x series, what are the priorities?
Oh, right, priorities, probably maintenance updates. So many of the big players in the Riak world are already moving to Riak KV or already on Riak KV version 3. As such, to allow development to focus on Riak 3.1 on OTP 24, which will be starting very soon, we're looking at dropping new feature releases for Riak KV 2.9 and earlier. This will save the devs having to bounce constantly between OTP from 16 to 20 to 22 to 24, all the way back down again every time they want to add a new feature.
So is Riak KV to become defunct anytime soon?
Not exactly, and that's actually our first announcement for today. TI Tokyo, our company, is taking over, well, is in negotiation to take over maintenance for Riak KV 2.9.x. We're talking with we're talking with the NHS, the largest post-Riak contributor to the Riak code base, and we're also in negotiation with Bet365, the owners of the IP. So this changeover is not going to happen tomorrow. It's still something scheduled a fair way in the future. But when it does happen, we're looking to make whatever is the current latest version of 2.9, which is 2.9.10 at the moment, an LTS release where we will still continue to provide patches and bug fixes for anybody who needs them. So we're essentially keeping the lights on for anybody with an older version of Riak who wants to do an in-situ upgrade rather than having to throw everything away and start again.
Good for them. What's in it for us?
We're hoping that by keeping the lights on for Riak KV 2.9 will mean we might get a few additional support contracts, which is where we make our money from Riak. That additional funding will help us continue to provide and maintain the 17 operating systems we currently offer Riak 2.9 for.
17. What's new in Riak KV?
As you'd expect, there's a number of bug fixes, tuning and feature improvements. One noticeable one recently would be a bug fix regarding the atom table overflow, where if you run Riak admin a few too many times, you'd actually run out of atoms and the whole thing would fall over. Other than that, new feature, rack awareness has been added. This has been a long desired feature. It's not exactly a perfect implementation, but many people have wanted it and it's much better than having nothing at all. Other than that, oh, go on.
What are the new releases?
Okay, as to new releases, we have Riak KV 2.9.10, as I mentioned a second ago, and 3.08 are currently the latest releases from KV series. This was an unusual pair as it's the first time we've ever had a same-day release for a version 2 and version 3 instance. Other than that, we're looking at releasing Riak KV 309 sometime in the next 2 weeks or so. That's currently work in progress, but getting very close to being out. As to Riak CS and Stanchion, that's still version 2.1.2, the first post-Basher release of Riak CS from 2019, and they've been tested to work with the entire version 3 and version 2 families. As to Riak TS, this is still a Basho era version from 2016, version 1.5.2. That said, I recently saw a research paper on improving the availability of NoSQL databases through a resource-aware mechanism, and they chose Riak TS specifically for that as the best tool for the job. So it's still clearly a solid product.
I have a couple of comments about that paper. But speaking about Riak CS, 2.1.2 is no longer the latest version, in fact.
What do you mean?
I've been working on Riak CS 3.0. First, it's the same code base running on the same scope of features but now running on OTP 22 and built with Rebar 3, which alone is a solid piece of work. But we also had a new feature to go with to justify the version bump. It's we are now supporting list object versions. That's to call that.
Nice.
We didn't support previously. We also have version 4 signatures enabled by default, and it's as good as the old one. It says passing all Riak CS tests written by Basho, and they were very extensive. So it's just around the corner.
So does that mean your demo today is about Riak CS then?
Yes, and let me share my screen.
Oh, excellent.
This is very unexpected, and I do apologize. But
yes, even in the future, nothing works.
why am I not able to switch to my terminal window? Why on earth? This is so embarrassing.
Nice.
Hold on. A second, I think it's coming through. No. Terminal. You see me frantically trying to find my terminal window. It's gone.
Okay, well, whilst Andrei tries to resolve his technical problems, I'm going to make our second announcement for today. The next announcement we'd like to make is the Riak KV 2.9 documentation. Many people have been waiting for this a long time, and I do apologize for the delay. It's actually complete at the moment. It's been sitting on our repos for a while, but it keeps getting pushed back by client work, which is why we never get a chance to release it. That said, we're looking forward to releasing it sometime in the next couple of weeks. Once that's up, it should mean that the docs for KV 2.9.1 should be up much quicker, so that gives us a basic template we can work from to get them up there. Oh, and on that note, it looks like Andrei's got his system to work again. Hooray!
Yep. Yeah.
You
see it now. The Riak CS suite is, as you probably know, is a collection of components. That includes a Riak cluster, but backing it up, one or more Riak CS nodes for your round robin, and a node of stanchion, and that all of that needs to be brought up, configured, and started in an orderly fashion. I'm going to demonstrate how it can be done using Docker as a Docker service. Images are being built very fast because they have been built before, slotted into containers, Docker is busy allocating them in the containers. It's the images that are being the versions of Riak and Riak CS are 3.8, 3.08, and 3.30, one of the latest tags in 3.0. They are now there. The Riak is starting up. It will be joined. Riak nodes will join in a cluster. You see lines scrolling by, they are familiar to you. In a second, we'll see the users' credentials flashing on the screen. Those are the credentials you will use in your favorite client to access your Riak CS nodes.
Okay.
Final stages and a list of Riak CS nodes, Riak CS control nodes, which we can access. Bear with me. Which is supposed to show. I'm sorry for the things. No, I can't show that to you for technical reasons. It would show you the users admin being created and in a nice graphical interface, and would give you an option to create a new user. We'll skip that. The addresses, yeah. Over to you.
Oh, okay. Yes, I was going to ask you, you mentioned a second ago that it was KV308 and CS version 3. Does that mean that you can only use this setup for version 3 of KV and CS then?
No, all versions starting from early 2.1 series, essentially all versions that can be built with Riak, with OTP 16 and later. They can be combined in all combinations of them are possible. The proof of the pudding is the load test. It's a wrapper written in Python of a third-party program S3 benchmark. It comes from Wasabi Tech, and it is it's written in Go, and it starts as I'm speaking. It starts 3 threads, each doing a get, put, and delete in a loop for a total of 5 seconds to those 2 clusters that we have created. In no time, we'll see a report.
Maybe. Whilst it's doing that, can I ask you, why are there 2 clusters?
The 2 clusters are one way of orchestrating the Riak CS suite in terms of what node connects to what node. I just did it in a form of very simple JSON blobs. So we have 2 clusters and 2 Riak CS nodes. Node 1 connects to node 1 in cluster 1, and 2 goes to cluster 2. Node 2 in cluster 2, which is in cluster 2. Now we in fact have 2 independently running Riak CS suites, between which we can imagine some sort of replication, and all of it at your fingertips on your laptop.
See.
Yep.
So when you were setting this up, did you have any issues with getting the third-party testing tool to work?
Oh yes, of course we did. go smooth. The issue, the principal issue we had with the program is that for some reason the developers chose to use a list object version call, which was not supported by Riak CS 2.1.2. So instead of we had a quick deliberation and unanimously decided to go with Erlang. That meant we had to implement that API call, and we did it in due time. It landed, and now it gives more substance to the version bump to Riak CS 3.0.
Yeah, new feature is always most appreciated, and it's very impressive. So do we have publicly available images for Docker for this?
No, not yet, but we do have Docker files, which everyone interested can build their images from. Those are available from our repositories of Riak CS, but also Riak CS service bundle. You'll get the links later.
Yes, we have a slide we're going to share at the end that has lots of information on, so they should be on there as well. Excellent. Let's just mention that we're currently in the process of producing Docker Hub images. That's being built thanks to a grant from DevXDAO, who fund lots of open source projects in distributed systems, including us, and they're also funding part of CodeSync Global today, so that's most awesome. So they're great people, and we're looking to add the Riak CS. Currently they're just Docker files, but we'll make a proper pre-built image for Docker using that once we get there. So I think people will be quite happy with that once it's done. Andrei, you've clearly been very busy with that, but what else have you been up to?
Other than that, we had a request. Let me stop my sharing. We had a request from one of our customers if it would be possible to enable them to run Riak 2.1 on Graviton 2. Graviton 2 is an 64-bit ARM architecture offering from Amazon. It's cheap and quite fast.
Yes, I've heard they're very impressive processors, but at the moment we've only got ARM32 versions of KV, like the ones we made for Raspbian on Raspberry Pi 4. There's nothing for ARM64.
The problem with that, generally speaking, you would expect Riak to be able to build Riak wherever Erlang runs, but the way Amazon rolled out their distribution had a GCC that doesn't accept M64 flag M64. That flag was very apparently injected into C flags by Ribar2, resulting in all C++ dependencies broken, and to work that around, I had to touch more than a dozen repositories that eventually was there, and anticipating demand, we are going to do this for later versions of Riak, including up to 3.0.
That sounds very good. Is that going to be included in your demo as well, or is your screen share just hung?
I'm trying to stop my screen sharing.
Okay, well, whilst you play with that, I should probably ask you, do you have any other plans outside of the Graviton stuff?
No. Well, as a matter of course, yes. The plans, those plans are mostly centered. Well, first of all, I want to officially release Riak CS. Once done with that, I'm going to turn to Riak TS. It's an unfinished business that I have with them.
We're back.
Oh, so let me stop my sharing.
No, screen sharing is stopped. That's great.
That paper you cited earlier actually couldn't
That's the Riak
have
TS one. Yes.
Riak TS. The paper you cited couldn't have been written at all if they had support for limit, as the paper is actually about how to work around the inherent limitation in the latest version released by Basho, 152. It's simply put, if you do select asterisk on data and get a sufficiently large amount of data in your request, then it will crash your server. And the limit was is this precisely piece of work was the subject of the last pull request in Riak TS, which didn't get merged due to some hiccups with Amazon, with testing on Amazon. And then there came Christmas recess, and then the sad end of Basho as a company. So it was unmerged, and merging it is the big thing, the main event of a decade for me.
Nice. Sounds very impressive. I'm sure people wanting a distributed time series solution will be very keen to use it when it's done. What longer term plans do you have?
The longer terms include, of course, the maintenance. We will be listening to bug requests, feature requests, bug reports, and make things more better in all possible respects. What about so that's over to you. Do you have any other announcements?
Yeah, as I've already told people about KV 2.9 docs, I'd like to finish off by giving our last announcement for today. This is to do with the Riak Wikipedia page. For people who may be aware, the Riak Wikipedia page has been barely touched since 2017. We realized this is probably not very accurate, so we did a complete rewrite to cover the last 5 years of developments. We add in a lot more fine details about releases, futures, etc. We registered with Wikipedia to say we have a conflict of interest because we do make some money from Riak support. And the result was we are not allowed to update. It was a large neutral update we wrote. It has no links to our business at all. It has at least 50 new references to external sources justifying the updates. And we've been told that instead we need to do a trickle feed of small updates that will take months to implement.
Very impressive. So it's we are dealing with Wikipedia at its bureaucratical finest.
Indeed. Well, on the plus side, at least the work is done. So we just now have a slow copy and paste job to get us through the rest of it. On the plus side, it will be nice when it's finished. It will show that Riak is still alive and kicking. So if anybody here would care to help as a neutral reviewer to speed up this somewhat slow process, it would be most appreciated.
Yeah, literally everybody, anybody can help in this matter. Sounds very good. Any other? So we have. So that's all we had to announce. We have covered today the KV updates, the roster of new versions, the upcoming announcement of the upcoming Riak Is 3.0, the future of TS, the plans, the grand plans that we have for it. They will be publishing soon the Docker images into where you can fetch them from without having to build them yourself. The documentation updates and Wikipedia to boot.
Yep,
thanks you for your attention. And do we have any questions?
Yep, thank you very much for listening. And just before we go into questions, I'm going to pop up a quick slide that shows you all the links from stuff we've talked about today. And that should be coming up now. Great. So yes, we'd like to pass. Thank you very much for listening to myself and Andrei talk for the last 25 minutes or so. If anybody has any questions, now is the time to ask them.
We just had one question in the Huva app, and it said, it's a newbie question. Is Riak agnostic to the OTP and Erlang version it runs on?
There is a minimum requirement for, if memory serves, for the, well, there are no alternative implementations of OTP. And so it's the single one from Erlang, the single one is exactly the requirement. The versions, speaking of versions, currently the quickest answer I have about Riak Is, and it requires 22. So it's we are now 2 versions behind the current version of OTP.
Yeah. I'd like to add to that answer briefly. For the packaging, we tend, well, for version 2, everything is in OTP 16. For version 3, we make packages in both OTP 20 and OTP 22. The reason we do that is for people who are doing an in-situ upgrade, the jump from OTP 16 to 20 is the smoothest. Whereas if people are just after the latest features that work as fast as possible, and you're starting fresh, you can go straight from the OTP 22 version.
To add, when I was bringing Riak Is up to, again, I'll be speaking about Riak Is, it's relying on certain edge features that tend to drop or appear as new versions come very lightly. So it's very well written piece of software with without any gotchas planted there by Basho developers. So it's very, speaking of Riak, yes, it's very much, we can say that it's very much agnostic to versions.